Homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and our Day 3 recap of Star Wars Celebration Online. Or should I say, enjoying Star Wars Celebration through social media, because multiple panels that we're going to be talking about today were actually not streamed to us at home, and there's been some buzz about that going around. So we're going to do our best as possible to cover it the best we can and speculate on what we weren't there for, and just try and enjoy the news regardless. So to help me do that, because if you can't tell, I'm losing my voice a little bit, we've got our esteemed co-host Blake in the Escape Pod, and we're going to be chatting with him all about this celebration buzz on Day 3. So thanks for tuning in again, and let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
Jedi. AHSOKA is Jedi.
The best way I can protect you is to teach you how to protect yourself. I want to bring peace and order to the galaxy. It is the only way you will truly have victory, my Padawan. Stand down.
That right there is the leak trailer for Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, which is a 6-part anthology series that made its debut at Celebration. And we didn't get to see anything online except for leaked material because that's how they want to do it. So, Blake, welcome back.
Hey, good to be back, man. It's pretty cool seeing all this stuff coming out. It's pretty exciting. I know we got one more day after today, so we got to relish it while we can.
Yeah, totally. It's we're going to get into all this, and we're going to come back around to Tales of the Jedi. But yeah, let's dive headfirst into all of the guest spotlight interviews that we saw happen on the live celebration stage yesterday, at least the ones noting of. So if you want to hit that list there, let's get the lowdown.
Sure thing. So we had quite a big list of guests showing up today, and we started off with Junis, who's the current Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's always good to see him. He's a friendly guy.
Yeah, he's a super friendly guy, and there's lots of jokes about his height in comparison. Because I know the host of that panel, or I guess the whatever they want to call it, the stage there, Andy, I guess she's on the shorter side, and then Junis is like 7 feet. So
yeah,
just a massive difference there, which is hilarious.
Totally.
Seems like such a friendly guy. So
yeah, he's a pretty normal guy, I think. Before he got the part of Chewbacca, I don't think he necessarily did a whole lot of films.
No, I don't think so. At least not that I'm aware of. Maybe more European films before he came over to North America.
Right.
But from what I could tell, he seems like the right guy to take over for Peter Mayhew, who's also just an extremely friendly person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Such a lucky guy to learn from the master too.
That's right.
So, yeah. Who else do we have?
And then there's the next group that came onto the stage here was Claudia Gray, Charles Soule, and Kevin Scott, which are the authors who've been putting out all the main series for the High Republic.
Right.
And so they were chatting. It looks like they're doing a little bit of crossover work. Charles Soule, I guess, normally does comics. I'm not sure if he's switching out of that, but I know Claudia Gray is going to try her first take at doing a comic in the High Republic. So that'll be kind of neat seeing where that goes, because I have really enjoyed her novels. I think she's Canadian. Is that right?
It's E.K. Johnson, who's Canadian.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. I got them mixed up.
Yeah, but two very notable authors. In the Star Wars realm these days. Yeah,
because Claudia Gray did Across the Stars, right? Oh,
I
was getting mixed up.
Right.
Across the Stars is the song, and then there's
the Lost Stars. It was Lost Stars. Star Wars Lost Stars.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I get that mixed up every time.
Every time, man. It was one of the first canon novels of the first wave.
That's right. And it was a young adult novel, and it's still one of my favorites. I thought that they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was great.
We don't need to get into it too much here, but the basic premise was there's I guess that there were young adults that were they had a crush, whatever, or a relationship, and then one got into the Imperial Academy, and the one became a rebel, and then that's kind of where the dynamic of the book is, which is pretty neat.
Right.
So moving on to the next section here, G. Capella sings live on stage, music played by Disney Parks as August Cantina?
Yeah, right? August Cantina. That's a famous place in Batu and Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
Yeah, so D. Capella.
This isn't the same Twi'lek person that we see on the Star Cruiser.
No, this is a band. It's a cappella style, so they don't use instruments. They just use their voices. And they sang a song with, they sang a song that, or a couple songs, or something like that were played in the Disney parks in Galaxy's Edge. So it was cool to hear that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then next we had Daniel Logan and his son Caden come on stage. So that's always fun. I really like Daniel Logan. He's such a like a super friendly, bubbly person. I love his laugh. It gets me every time. He laughs so hard at everything.
Totally.
That was a fun conversation. I really enjoyed that a lot.
It was good to see his little son Caden cosplaying as Daniel.
That was so cool, right? Yeah, he had a little story about that. I guess his wife was making the costume, and she was cluttering up the dining table. And so I guess he complained about that, and his wife kind of chewed him out. So. It looks like a spot-on costume, though. How cool is that to see him next to the character that he played?
Yeah, totally.
And he mentioned that when they were filming Boba Fett, they gave him a call and said, like, "Hey, we're gonna use you for one scene," because there's that flashback scene, right, where you see little Boba look out the window as Jango is flying away in the Slave One.
Right.
And so he's like, "Oh, sweet." He's like, "Gonna come down and do some work." They're like, No, we'll just like CG later or whatever.
We got everything we need. We'll just send you a check.
That's right. Yeah, we'll send you a check. He's like, "Oh, cool. That works for me. Get paid for doing nothing."
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is they didn't confirm in telling that story whether or not that was just deleted footage or not. I just assumed that it is.
But no, it could have been. Yeah. Or if it was CG and or they maybe did a face swap.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know that the alternate angle when he holds up the helmet in the Geonosian arena, that shot was also a deleted take. So
yeah, he has a funny story for that too, because George didn't tell him what it was for.
Right.
So he did that scene, and then he watched the movie several months later, and he saw that Jango died. He had no idea.
So good, man. That guy's full of some good stories.
Dude, so we also got to talk about the fart kid story real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so I guess when they were working on the scene on Camino where Obi-Wan comes into the room and little Boba is supposed to look very confused at why he's there. And they're having a hard time getting the reaction they wanted. So Ewan told Daniel Logan to just look at him like he just like smelled like the worst fart. and so that's what they did. And so that face that we see him make in the actual show, that's the take when he's pretending to smell a really bad fart, and Ewan just like was real silent about it.
So awesome, because like
so for it's the rest of the filming, he was known as the fart kid by Ewan.
I just remember every time I watch that movie, that scene that when he opens up the door and we see him kind of scowl at him.
Yeah,
it always makes me. It always makes me chuckle a little bit because I'm like, man, what's this kid's problem? Like,
now you know it's because Obi-Wan came in and just let one rip.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. And the best part is that it worked out.
Maybe it was Ton Wee, the Kaminoan. You know, letting loose a Ton Wee wet one.
Oh gosh, just a wee one, a Ton Wee one.
Yeah, it smells like fish.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Who's next?
So next we had Carrie Jones come out, who is the actor who plays Black Chrysanthemum. And that was an interesting interview as well.
Right.
So he wasn't. I think he's been getting into acting more recently, but he originally was a special effects guy.
Yeah, like special effects is in the costume special, like a puppeteer.
Yeah, on set stuff like that. Exactly. Yeah. So like when he was dressed up as the Wookiee there, like he knew what to expect. He was talking about that. I guess he was a little more comfortable wearing this giant, blinding, extremely hot costume because he knew what was going to happen, as opposed to most actors. He was kind of playing that a bit because he's normally is the guy outside putting it all on someone, right? Or doing all the. I don't know if he did as far as the animatronics, or if he's more just on the costume side, like maybe like the meshes and stuff. Right. But then he went. Also, it's talking about how he was trying to play this character, and the only thing you can see of him is his eyes. The rest of it's all just a costume, right? So
totally.
So that was pretty neat. He spent hours and hours and hours just doing like different angry looks in the window or in the mirror, trying to figure out to get it right.
Yeah. I've actually got it noted down here at some point on the page that he was just. I just put. He spoke on the celebration stage. Really, gave us all a good idea that his dedicated performance as Black Chrysanthemum. I hope we see him again. So
yeah. And he I guess he's a method actor. So while he was on stage dressed as Black Chrysanthemum, he was trying to just be a dick to everyone all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like people would be talking to him, he would just like turn away and like just like ignore them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he wanted people to see him as Black Chrysanthemum and not someone in a suit.
Right.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I thought that was pretty good.
Then we had Ahmed Abtahi. Dr. Persing, that's the guy from Mandalorian season 1. I think season 2 as well. The guy who was trying to do all the science experiments on Baby Yoda, on Grogu.
Yeah, that's the guy that the group kidnaps at the very end of the second season, and they use him to help locate Moff Gideon's ship.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know he was talking a lot about how he was cast in they filmed all this stuff, but because the NDAs are just so tight, like he basically had to tell everyone he was unemployed for a year. Because he couldn't say anything.
Oh, the shame.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty funny. And I guess he's coming back again. So, yeah, he's excited to return.
Yeah, it'll be great to see his character back.
Yep. And then we had Pedro Pascal come on. I missed part of this, so I don't know if you have anything specific to share about Din Djarin.
Yeah, nothing specific. This was after the Mando Plus panel that none of us got to see online. So, there was a few questions that were just kind of semi-relevant to his time at the panel, and just always great to see him, talk about his love for the character and the show and the family.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Next, we had Rosario Dawson and Natasha Liu. Those are the actresses that play Sabine and Ahsoka.
Yeah, in the live action series.
That's right, in live action. Yeah, so we finally got the reveal that Sabine is going to be a live action character.
That's right. Yeah, played by Natasha Liu. And I was looking at her while she was up on stage, and I was like, dang, that's one good casting call for Sabine. Like,
Yeah.
they look pretty close. Yeah.
I didn't do a side by side. That's pretty cool. Do you have to imagine her with like colored hair, right? Streak hair.
Yeah, totally.
I think each season she has a different color. So
It just seemed like her personality that she would in fact sport purple hair.
Get out of my room, Ezra. There we go.
Yeah. You know, the craziest part about this is that so the rumored actor to play Ezra Bridger is the same Canadian actor who played Aladdin.
That makes sense.
And we
like
always
the connection is perfect.
Yeah. You know, we're always making jokes that Ezra Miller is just the
What's
Star
that?
Wars
Street
Aladdin.
rat.
What's that? Street rat.
Because that's what he is. His character is clearly based on Aladdin, so it just makes sense.
Mena Masad, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he actually tweeted over Star Wars Celebration weekend so far. And he says, huge congratulations to everyone at the hashtag Star Wars Celebration. Excited to see hashtag Ahsoka and this next phase for the Star Wars universe. May the Force be with you. And people are losing their business over the idea that he was throwing us all a bone as to say, I'm Ezra Bridger and I can't say anything yet. But
maybe
who knows? I mean, someone
couldn't
asked
quite say
Dave.
Nothing.
Yeah, and someone asked Dave this question in the audience of this unseen panel because this all happened in the Mando Plus panel. Someone asked Dave, "Where's Ezra?" Because Natasha Liu, Rosario Dawson, Pedro Pascal, Giancarlo Esposito, pretty much the whole 9 yards for all the live action actors, in these shows and stuff, all came out along with Chopper in live action, the physical robot and all that stuff.
I mean, it makes sense they wouldn't reveal it because we were left off at the end of Rebels where we don't know really if Ezra survived or not.
Right.
We know, but we've been hit that Thrawn surviving and they were together. So it seems likely Ezra's alive.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's supposed to be the plot of the Ahsoka series. They're going to probably find him.
Yeah, so
That's
maybe
probably
they'll keep the
reveal.
casting secret until the day of the show airs, But yeah, it's definitely something that came to mind to somebody down there because they asked Dave the question, "Where's Ezra Bridger?" And Dave responds as, the funny thing about that is I know.
Sounds about right. Oh, classic Dave.
Classic Dave. All right, who's next?
Are you surprised though that they wouldn't want to cast Taylor Gray, who's the voice actor? I feel like they might want to start consolidating these roles.
At this point, they've only used Bo-Katan as an original cast member to portray both live action and animated, whereas everyone else has been recast for live action. So I feel like they've just been going with that pattern.
You say that, but then in the games, they're doing body scans. So then the actors and actresses that are playing the characters in the games, they actually look like that.
Yeah. So in the games, they're intentionally going that route of like, oh, this is an actor that could definitely play this in live action. And I think
say
when they cast for a game, they kind of take the same casting process, I think.
Right. I think they should do that for the shows as well.
They should. Yeah, they should. Totally.
Because now that we know there is this potential to switch to live action, when they cast for all the animated series, they should cast their likeness as well. And then whoever gets cast to play it, that's what the character should be designed to look like. So if they ever do switch live action, they can just keep the same person.
I agree. Yeah, it would simplify the process a lot more. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll start doing that for going forward, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we should. I don't know who we'd send that to. Kathleen Kennedy. tweeted at Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah,
I know she has Twitter.
Send your letters to LDAC.
Yeah, there we go. It'll go straight to the trash.
Yeah. Not the Kerner building, everyone. They've moved since then. All right. Next guest on the list.
Next, we had Matt Wood, which is the master of Skywalker sound, who's done so many of the iconic mixes of shows, and the direct apprentice of Bill Burr.
Yeah, it was always cool hearing from him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's always got so many cool stories and stuff to talk about, something like behind the scenes, and something that he mentions quite often. I've noticed in these panels because he showed up a few times, is he mentions that George Lucas considered sound to be 50% of the movie. Yeah,
totally. And, rightfully so. It adds so much. I mean, where would we be without the iconic sound effects of the lightsaber and the Millennium Falcon and the TIE fighters? I mean,
Yeah, I think
different world.
The score is included in that as well. As all of it together, right? If you just watched a silent film,
totally,
you're missing so much.
Oh, yeah. The feeling is gone.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's exactly how he explained it. Is sound is you're telling a story through emotion.
Yeah.
So next we had the actor, hopefully I pronounce this correctly, Giancarlo Esposito.
Yep.
Who plays Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon. Yeah. He had, and he was kind of funny up on Celebration stage. He had a big message.
Yeah, he reminded me of. I don't want to say it. This probably isn't the best way to explain it, but he came across as like a positive version of a dictator. You know what I mean? Just with the like the way he spoke and was like, like, oh, I love all of you, right?
Yeah.
He's an actual dictator, but like he kind of was like speaking in that same style.
He's rallying everyone and how to be positive and love everyone and
yeah, exactly.
His career is now kind of gold towards bringing that to people and seems like such a nice guy.
He really does.
Which is it's quite funny to see him like this because he's always playing a villain. Yeah.
He's talked about that. Yeah. It's funny how it's always the nicest people that play the best bad guys.
Right. And, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it all the way through Breaking Bad, but he does play a villain in Breaking Bad. And, we all saw the famous death scene with him just getting half his face blown off. Like it was quite something. And, terrifying guy.
Yeah, he's the chicken guy, right? The guy who runs the chicken shop, sells meth in the back.
Yeah, that's right. The fast food guy. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that was like the best season too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it was definitely. I think it was my favorite too.
I didn't realize it was the same guy.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Breaking Bad since it came out, but
I only rewatched it like just because I never finished it originally, and I decided to rewatch it within the last year at some point. And I watched the whole show and then finished off with El Camino. And it was just so great, It's such a great show.
Such a great show.
Great writers. Yeah.
And then we had Ewan McGregor show up very briefly, and it felt like it was more of a call to like, hey, last minute, get your autograph because I gotta go.
I thought that was quite funny. I'm like, hey everybody, listen, I've got to go in 20 minutes, and some of you have signed up for a signature for an autograph. So it's quite funny.
Shared that this is the first con he's ever been to, so he really didn't know what to expect. So you could tell that, right? It wasn't like this is the 500th one and they're all just exhausted of doing the same thing every couple months,
right?
So he was really excited about it. I think he really enjoyed meeting fans and signing and everything.
Yeah, I think he had a good time.
He wasn't burnt out yet, like George.
Make your own movies. You can sign your own stuff.
But George, this is for your fans.
Nope. And our final guest,
Janina Gavankar, who is going to play Ahsoka's mother, but she originally was Iden Versio, which I thought was very interesting because that means she's now going to be playing two characters.
Yeah.
And because, as we mentioned with the games, where it has her likeness, she might actually be two characters. But because the Ahsoka's mother was what it came. That was revealed in one of the panels that wasn't streamed.
Yeah, that was the Tales of the Jedi panel.
Okay, and that's going to be animated.
It's going to be exactly the way Clone Wars looks.
Okay, so in that case, it's fine. At first, I thought, because I heard the first time I heard that reveal of playing Ahsoka's mother was at this panel, so we didn't know what that show was going to be like.
Right.
So I was under the impression that was actually going to be live action.
Yeah.
But, if it's animated, that makes more sense.
Yeah. It'll be an animated version of Ahsoka's mother. We'll get into the details of that in just a bit, but the casting of her into that role is very similar to Sam Witwer having played a video game character in the EU as the Force Unleashed Secret Apprentice, and then transitioning into the voice of Darth Maul, and then Sidious, and multiple others after that. So, they kind of follow suit, I guess.
In this interview at the stage, she mentioned that Lucasfilm was really good at callbacks to just come in and do random voices. So I guess through a lot of the films as well, she's just been called in to play random stormtroopers in the background and stuff.
Right. Yeah. She also puppeteered the nostrils on that Mon Calamari person.
That's right. That was on Mando season 2 on the fishing planet.
Yeah. She played the nostril in that Mon Calamari person wearing the fishnet shirt or whatever.
Did she reveal if that was on stage that they did that? I guess they would have to have been.
On set. Yeah. So her friend is the one in the costume, and they needed someone that could keep tight-lipped on.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, they needed help with the nostril remote control stuff. So she was like, "Hey, you're a Star Wars person too. Let's bring you on."
Now we know we can trust you.
Yeah.
It really goes to show that if you get your foot in the door, then you're in. You can kind of do lots of stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was saying too. She was like, once you're kind of, within that Star Wars family, they just keep on coming back to you for stuff if they know you're interested. So
yeah.
Oh,
something I forgot to mention back on the Matt Wood panel. They mentioned that they what's that guy's name? I'm blanking on now. I had a second ago. David Collins. They hired David Collins.
Oh yeah, David W. Collins. Yeah, that's right.
Because I know he's the guy who's talked a lot about Star Wars stuff, and I think he kind of hosted.
Every celebration he tends to host a panel.
Yeah. Yes, but he was never officially part of Skywalker Sound. I think now he was actually hired on. Right.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know, because I know he worked on a variety of projects, including The Force Awakens.
Yeah, he did some random voices, but I think it was all just like random pickup stuff.
Yeah, sound work as well. I think he was doing sound work for Skywalker Sound, I believe.
Oh, okay. In that case, maybe I don't know if he left and then came back or what happened there. But Matt Wood said David Collins is part of the team now. So
yeah, he. I think I don't know if he ever. I mean, he did work on Rise of Skywalker as it's funny because his credits is always additional crew. So I don't really. He's one of those like jack of all trades kind of people.
He is. That's probably why. Because I know part of it when they also do like random voices. That could be the case because they're not actually named characters.
Right. Yeah, he had a bit of a break after Force Unleashed came out. And then he came back to Star Wars for Forces and of Destiny, the Disney kind of YouTube show in 2018. And he's been with the company ever since.
Yeah.
On every Star Wars project. So
he's kind of been all over the place. Like you said, he was hosting panels and stuff.
Yeah, Resistance. He was a sound editor. He was on Jedi Temple Challenge, Galaxy Adventures, Lego Star Wars The Holiday Special, Star Wars Vehicle Fly-Through and Biomes as recording mixer, sound designer, sound editor. He was on The Bad Batch, Visions, Galaxy Sounds, like the list goes on. Book of Boba, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Willow. So,
yeah, it sounds like then, started small and then just got bigger and bigger roles.
Yeah.
More involved.
Totally. So we had a variety of panels today, and two of which we'll talk about were able to see on the live stream. Two are not able to be seen. No one saw them yesterday except the people there in person. And
even then, only if they got lucky enough to get in the draw to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did see a few tweets from people that had hit that state where we had estimated because of the raffle, there's going to be people who don't get into anything. And I did see a tweet from someone who was like, I'm here on Star Wars Celebration Saturday and I'm not in any panels. And I'm pissed. That's what they were saying. I was like, geez.
Yeah, that was us last time. Same thing.
So, let's kick things off with behind the scenes of the Mandalorian panel. I'm sure you have a lot to say on this. I know we both really like that a lot, but do you want to read through the notes and then we could just go back through and touch up on any details?
Sure thing. So on the behind the scenes Mandalorian panel, we had the guests, Matt Wood, Richard Bluff, John Rosengrant, Jenna Lewin, and Bonnie Wild. So a number of these people were like special effects. So Matt Wood was sound. See if I can put a face to the name of the other ones. I know Jenna Lewin has to do with Industrial Light and Magic. So she's on the CG side. Bonnie Wild was also a sound director at Skywalker Sound. Richard Bluff and John Rosengrant. I'm not sure which one is which, but one guy runs his own prop special effects company, and they actually designed Grogu.
Right. Legacy Effects.
Legacy, that's right. And they are the guy who owns that company. He was originally the guy who worked on did the special effects in Terminator, like the original Terminator and Aliens, T2. Like this guy, he goes way back the day, and he works quite a lot with
James Cameron.
That's right. That's who I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So Richard shared about the original Lucas TV show Underworld and compared it to the breakthroughs on The Mandalorian that made the new shows possible. Stagecraft is highlighted in this panel, and the volume, as they often refer to it as. Grogu was almost CG until John saw the puppet, which I thought was super interesting. So originally, the puppet was supposed to be just a stand-in for lighting and stuff, or just to be out of focus in the background. But they actually managed to get enough movement and facial expression out of Grogu that John Favreau was like, well, let's just use it. This looks great. And honestly, I think it was the right call. Yeah. Because I know with CG, it can look really, really good. But other times, I don't know if it's just time limits or whatever, you could tell that it's not quite right. Yeah. Totally. Maybe that's just the actors and actresses not reacting to it quite appropriately. Yeah. Something always seems just a little bit off. So I'm really glad they went with the puppet. I think that's fantastic.
Totally.
So Matt Wood mentioned why Cad Bane doesn't have as much voice modulation as he did in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because they really wanted the actor's voice to stand out more. And they talked about how when he does Cad Bane's voice, he talks out the side of his mouth.
We talked extensively about that lack of voice modulation in the Book of Boba, and we were wondering why, because there was a huge consistency error there. But I guess it was intentional because much like how we might look at the casting voice of live action versus animated as a different vibe, I guess Matthew Wood looks at the sound effects that way as well. So he decided to perceive Cad Bane just a little differently for live action depiction as opposed to animation.
Yeah, that's what it ended up being. I know we were speculating on, maybe he's just older.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just the Clone Wars animated series and Bad Batch, he's stylized.
Right. Yeah.
Because they also showed the breakdown for his how they did his prop stuff. Because I thought he was CG, his face, but it looks like it was actually mostly animatronics.
Yeah, it's all makeup and animatronics that they attached to his mouth and his lips and everything, and they were able to pull that out practically, which is why the mouth is placed at a normal level and not further down as a proper Duros would.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think they did the thing where the jaw sticks out of the rest of the mask. So the bottom lip is real, but the top lip is prosthetics.
Yeah, something like that. So It paid off reasonably well when it comes down to the practical technology that they're able to design a costume like that. But the continuity, again, it's like, for me, it always comes down to continuity. I mean, like to me, it just didn't fully look like Cad Bane.
It didn't look like a Duros.
It didn't look like a Duros. Yeah, it just looked like a big bug-eyed person, like a human person almost.
But does that mean going forward, all Duros are going to look more like Cad Bane than they did look like the Duros that we see in the original trilogy?
That's the controversy, yeah. Because I don't know. I mean, now which continuity do we go with? Like, which consistency do we stick with, right? So it brings up a lot of issues.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens when the next one shows up.
Yeah. Miniatures.
Miniaturization of the Razor Crest. Miniatures are back in Star Wars. Not something done on the sequels. Practical effects and large sets were, but no, if not hardly any kind of miniature work. So this was pointing out more to the fact that originally there wasn't supposed to be any miniatures in The Mandalorian.
Right.
And now I know which one's which. I guess it was John Rosengrant, who is someone who works with Doug Chang. He was talking back and forth with Favreau, and Favreau was just slowly kind of dropping the idea of doing miniatures until John Rosengrant just specifically asked, like, "Hey, you've brought this up multiple times now. Like, do you actually want to do miniature work?" And Favreau was like, "Yeah, why not?" So like, okay. So he called up John Knoll. Was like, "Hey, Favreau wants to do miniature work for the Razor Crest." And then the classic story that we were actually at. Where did I hear it? I think there's an online video where John Knoll specifically talks to this, where he went into his garage over the weekend and he built like a full animatronic rig so that they could record the Razor Crest practically.
Yeah, he heard the news and he just got building in his garage that day, so excited. Yeah,
it's just so cool. Honestly, I wish I had the technical know-how to do that in my garage.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. He's such a talented guy. This is the guy who him and his brother built Photoshop, the original Photoshop. So they know what they're doing.
John Knoll's one of the smartest people, I think. I think any of us will ever hear about. Who's more of like an underdog, kind of like Elon Musk in a little bit. It's like he's a
quiet, humble guy you would never guess.
Totally. Yeah. And he makes his jokes and stuff on social media. He's actually active on social media, whereas like John Knoll is not. He's like, you might find him on LinkedIn, but he's like such a big deal, like within the ILM, within the VFX community at large. And he's got such an important role to play, and he's still active doing his job. So it's always great to hear stories about him. Yeah.
So that was super cool. I'm glad they did that as well, because I've always been such a big fan of practical effects, and I really want to see their return. I feel like the pendulum swung really far in the CG direction, and it's starting to swing back the other way. And I think there's a balance. There is a balance to be found where some stuff you could just do so much more with CG, but you can't write off practical stuff entirely.
I think they're finding that balance really nicely in the new Star Wars shows.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And you can really see that. And they speak to that when they're inside the volume, where because now they have also all the CG stuff is there for the actors to see, so they can actually see stuff moving around them and be in like a set, even if it's screens, they can see where they are.
Totally.
And then, so they can interact with stuff next to them, or they can interact with the actual like props and stuff, like Baby Grogu, for example. Daniel on the celebration stage shares a story about playing video games with Hayden and getting Natalie's autograph.
Oh yeah, so now we're back to the celebration stage. There was some details about there was just two things I wrote down. We already talked about Carrie Jones, but yeah, there was one thing that Daniel mentioned when he was up there with his son about how Natalie Portman doesn't give her signature out to anyone.
But she was only signing it for charity.
Yeah, she's only signing for charity, and everyone was like, "Nah, kid, like you're not gonna get her signature." Like, yeah, but he was like, "No, I'm sure I can do it." Yeah, so he goes up. He's like, "Please,
Miss Boltman?
Miss Boltman, can you sign my autograph book?" And then she was like, "Oh, of course you can." Like, you know,
yeah. This cute little 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, cute little like New Zealander like kid. Yeah, so you know, he got her autograph, and everyone's like scowling at him as he like walks away.
Yeah, and it was right after he was playing video games with Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, and he steals his PlayStation.
He didn't steal it.
There was like so Hayden.
That's a fun story. I'll tell it from the beginning.
Yeah, go for it.
So Hayden invited Daniel Logan to come hang out in his suite and play video games, which at first, you know, was like stranger danger, but he's like, I just went anyway. So they went over there, and this is back in the day. This like, I think the PS2 had just launched, and so at the time, Hayden had the PS1 and the Sega.
PlayStation. It was PlayStation and Dream something.
Dreamcast. Yeah, it was the Sega Dreamcast. And so I guess they were in Australia, and so the power there is different. I think it's higher voltage, and so Hayden plugged in the Sega Dreamcast and it just started smoking and like burns up.
Yeah,
and just dies. And so he was like really angry.
But just prior to that, he said to Daniel that he could have his PlayStation because he's been using his Dreamcast.
Yeah. and so Daniel Logan saw the thing smoke up and knew that Hayden would want his PlayStation back, so he just grabbed the PlayStation and ran out of the room. Just to leave Hayden with nothing.
I just think like it's just one of the funniest things I think I heard this whole weekend. I mean, you know, Hayden's such a nice guy. I bet he only laughed like when he saw that, but it's just so good.
Oh man, I bet you he probably heard this story, you know, over the weekend. It probably made him smile and just laugh at just the unfortunate turn of events that happened over that weekend.
Totally. So we got a couple of non-streamed panels, which we can just leave to speculate on between us because I only got so much information from various tweets that people were coming out with. So let's kick things off with the Mando Plus panel. This was not streamed. Once again, you won't be able to find this online yet. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they actually do in fact reveal the trailers and the footage and the panel itself at some point. But for the time being, this is Celebration in person only exclusive stuff. So I only know as much as you know, which is the notes here that we got down on the page. So why don't you go ahead and read us through this whole ordeal?
Sure. So at the panel, the guests were Dave and John, and then we got Chopper, Pedro, Pascal, Grogu, Rosario Dawson, and Natalie Liu. So it's interesting that they had Chopper there for one.
Yeah. There was actually, I actually forgot to write down a few more. I think Giancarlo Esposito was there, and there was actually like numerous amount others. There's a photo that I posted in our Discord in the Celebration log. And it's a group photo of all of them behind a table. It's somewhat closer to the bottom, and it's got the armorer there, Emily Swallow. It's got Katie Sackhoff is in there. Rick Famuyiwa is in there. Carl Weathers is in there.
There's a huge panel.
Yeah, so it was a lot of them. They were all kind of all in it together, representing the next wave of live action Star Wars within the same era kind of thing, which is cool.
That's pretty neat. It's because it's called Mando Plus. It's not directly Mando season 3, but it might also include the Ahsoka panel.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it was including Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Book of Boba, I guess. Just anything around that. Kind of
anything that's like live action Disney Plus series.
Some people are calling it the Mando verse. I'm personally not a huge fan of that, just because it isolates those groups of shows like from the rest of
it too much.
Yeah, it limits it too much. I just like to look at it as like the post Return of the Jedi, stories. But
It'd be Return of the Jedi Plus.
Yeah.
I think that's what Disney would probably call it.
Yeah.
They like their pluses.
Yeah.
Because then they can keep adding more, and it literally looks like everything's added together. That's probably why.
Right. Yeah. What were you saying? So Hera and Sabine came out on stage as well.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm told, I guess. Hera and Sabine will be in the Ahsoka series, was announced. So they can be live action characters that are actually going to be Hera and Sabine. So we talked about Sabine a little bit. But Hera's new.
Yeah. That's so I guess the actress the actress didn't come out on stage for Hera, but it was, at least I don't think so, but she was in the teaser footage that they showed, and it's confirmed that there is somebody out there playing the character of Hera in the Ahsoka series.
Which makes sense if this series is taking place right after where we left off in Rebels.
I'm hearing it goes one step even further. It's even better than that. I'm hearing from people on the internet that it is basically just Rebels season 5.
But live action.
That's right. But the story literally takes place the moment season 4 leaves off. Yeah. Which is pretty
that's a massive
sick
cliffhanger.
Yeah, it is. And the teaser footage, which is actually the next thing, the teaser footage that they showed, I've got, I don't know if I posted a picture for this one or not, but they recreated that whole scene with Sabine looking at the mural of Ezra and the family of the Ghost crew on the thing, and Ahsoka in the white robe comes out. They recreated that whole thing. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and then they went right into the teaser footage, which was you can find it online. It's not the best visibility. The camera tilts up, and you can only see like an eighth of the screen for a good chunk of it. So, not great, but it was okay, and got the idea, and definitely feels like Rebels season 5 for sure.
That's cool. Makes me have a lot of questions though, because obviously we see Ahsoka later in The Mandalorian, which this Ahsoka series, I guess, is going to be before The Mandalorian season 1. And before Return of the Jedi. So that means it's before A New Hope.
Ahsoka series?
Yeah.
So,
correct?
no. So, So the one thing about the Rebels season 4 finale is the end credit scene, or the end scene of the last episode, is post Return of the Jedi. So the whole Rebels series. Yeah. So anyone who hasn't seen Rebels, you may want to take note of this. But the whole Rebel series, season 1 through 4, up until the last episode, is all before Rogue One. And then the very last 3 minutes of the final episode, it actually skips the original trilogy and flashes forward to a scene past Return of the Jedi when the Empire's already gone. And that's a scene in which Ahsoka kind of comes back and reunites with Sabine, and they go off looking for Ezra, because at one point in the show he goes missing. So Ahsoka will follow up the events of season 4 of Rebels and continue that story.
We're gonna have to play that clip here on the podcast at some point.
For sure, yeah. We'll for sure. I'm sure there's going to be an opportunity to get further into detail when they officially release the footage and all that.
Yeah, release the official trailer maybe.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. And then we had Chopper come out, as well as the actors Rosario Dawson and Sabine actress Natasha Liu.
Yeah.
Do you think her voice is close enough, or we're better off with the girl who played Kelly from The Office?
Sabine?
Yeah.
I think she'll be fine. I think she'll be great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need to see her playing the character. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
hard to tell at this point. I don't know. It's just a gray box.
Yeah. I'm sure they casted well. I mean,
They've done it for everyone else. So
yeah, aside from the disappointment that we don't have the same actors from animation and live action, that aside, Rosario Dawson is great, and I love her as Ahsoka as well. So it's just one of those things. I guess we'll all eventually kind of adjust to the casting choice of whatever they do end up going with.
makes sense. So that was the end of that panel.
Yeah, and we got a second panel unstreamed again, Tales of the Jedi. So how about you?
This looks to be a new animated series.
Yeah. You want to walk us through this?
Sure. So the notes that we were able to find, it's a Clone Wars style show by Dave Filoni. How did this idea come about? During Mando's shooting, he came up with a short story and later pitched it to Carrie Beck. So I guess this happened while he was on a flight.
Yeah. It was when he was on a flight flying back and forth between shooting, I guess, wherever their set was. And, just came up with the idea on an airplane. And, being a guy like Dave Filoni with so many stories to tell, Tales of the Jedi is like a great avenue because it really lets him explore those random story arcs that's like, oh, I want to tell a story about young Qui-Gon and Dooku, but I don't have a full dedicated show avenue to do it. So like, how do we tell that story?
Yeah, because if you're jumping on a timeline that much, the only real other way to do that would be like a one-off comic series or a novel.
Yeah, and I brought it up before where I said I would love them to finish Clone Wars in the style of just throw out some Clone Wars style movies. I mean, we've seen that happen before. Let's get it happening again so that they can complete the show, right? And Tales of the Jedi is kind of like that. Like they're doing it in story arcs where it's just 3 episodes for an arc, and it's going to be dedicated around a character or something, just trying to fill in some gaps in their life. So it's just great.
So there will be an Ahsoka-based episode, 3 which span critical moments of her life. So I guess there'll be 3 different Ahsoka episodes that jump around. Yeah,
we can tell which eras that they will take place in as well, based on the teaser footage that I played at the beginning of our podcast. There's leaked footage of her as with her as a baby. And then there's footage of her in the Clone Wars era, but like early on. And then there's also footage of her in the post Revenge of the Sith, post end of Clone Wars era when she faces the 6th brother from the Ahsoka novel. So it looks like they're going to try and fill those main holes to try and complete a backstory a little bit.
Were you ever that interested to see a prequel to how she became part of the Jedi Academy?
I never really questioned it that much. We do know that Plo Koon finds her, and that was supposed to be originally the main plot of one of the arcs or whatever. But I guess maybe they shifted it up a bit and decided to make it a little bit more about Ahsoka's mother. Which is, I think, quite interesting. It's quite curious, and I like the idea that an actress like Janina Gavankar will be playing that role, and I think she'll do a fantastic job. So
yeah, sure enough. Curious to see what we're gonna see about that, because I always like Ahsoka, so
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. There will also be about 3 Dooku Qui-Gon episodes. A young Qui-Gon story will be voiced by Liam Neeson's son. Liam will also return. That's interesting. They got Liam Neeson on board.
Yeah. Looking forward to that.
I wonder if it's going to be similar to the what do they call it? Because it's not really an audiobook.
Dooku Jedi Lost. Yeah, I think the whole story might actually take place around those events, if not maybe before, because he's still a Jedi in this story, and Dooku Jedi Lost is kind of like it kind of does something similar where it flashes through his whole life. Like it starts when he's a kid and goes up until the point where he leaves the Order. So it's a bit of a quick, fast-paced story. So ideally, these stories could almost take place anywhere in that time frame, and they'll work. So,
No, it's a good point. I'm always very curious to see more about Dooku and just how he fell from grace.
Yeah, absolutely, fascinating character.
So it'll be an episode where Obi-Wan and Mace, Yaddle, Bail Organa, and Inquisitors have appearances.
Yeah, so their appearances are sprinkled through the whole course of the show. Obi-Wan and Mace and Yaddle obviously will Yaddle.
I love that.
Yaddle probably.
I love Yaddle. I'm so glad Yaddle's going to be in this.
Yaddle
is
a
forgotten character.
Yeah, I know, right? So she's probably going to be in the Qui-Gon Dooku arc. I would not be surprised if perhaps at some point in this series we might even see her death. I don't really know. And then Obi-Wan and Mace probably in the second in the Ahsoka arc, I would imagine. And then the Inquisitors obviously in the Ahsoka arc as well. So lots of cool appearances there, as well as Bail, of course, who recruits Ahsoka into the rebellion as Fulcrum.
Oh, that's a neat idea too.
Yeah,
man, it'd be really cool if we got to see how the Temple Guard became the Grand Inquisitor.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Like whatever his actual name is, that'd be a cool arc, I think.
It'd be quick. It would be even just a cool cameo to have him in there at some point. Yeah.
A tail episode was played for the audience in person, so I guess some of these are completed if they managed to play a whole episode.
Yep. Yeah. They've got the full trailer, and it's a full finished trailer. We heard the audio just 56 minutes ago, and we're going to be hopefully able to see that for ourselves in the coming days, coming weeks.
Man, there's so much stuff that they limited.
We're all so bummed about it, man. Like,
yeah, man, I want to see it. They got to put it out online. They try to make it special for people there.
Like,
but
I don't want to bash like the opportunity of
exclusivity
or whatever, but I mean, realistically, like, it's a special enough experience to be there in person. It's not like I would ever prefer watching this online over going in person. I would always want to go in person, but it's just we all can't be there, right? And so why make it so that if we can't go, that we can't enjoy it like in a different way, right?
So true.
I mean, there's people in other countries that can't fly across the world. We're lucky enough to live just like north of where it's happening, but it's a long trip for some people. So
no, it's a really good point. Like this even I'm just thinking in the UK, right? There's so many fans there that do film stuff there all the time, but it's a long ways away.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So we have Kevin Kiner, who will be composing the score, who's the same guy who did Clone Wars and Rebels. So it sounds like the music then will be very synced up with the rest of the animated series.
Yep.
The model's animation is all consistent to that of the Clone Wars.
And by extension, Bad Batch. Sorry, I left that out of the list. Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch. Kevin Kiner composed all of it, and the models and animation will be consistent with that of Clone Wars and Bad Batch as well. So Rebels is the only outlier.
And Resistance.
Yes, although I always just kind of leave that out of my head for some reason. Because it's not Dave Filoni as far as like a.
Right. Yeah, heading it up. Because I remember when they first canceled Clone Wars and then Rebels was announced and they put some artwork out or whatever. And you were just so disappointed with the design. You just didn't like it at all.
Well, it's great to see that they've found the preference. And, I think maybe enough people were kind of leaning towards how I saw the Clone Wars, that the art style was just very unique, very special. And I appreciated the fact that Ralph McQuarrie's art influenced the Rebels show, but at the same time, it would have saved so much money and almost like time, having to redial in so many assets and lighting scenes and everything like that, remodel ships, all of that just to make Rebels happen. So that sucked away so much of the budget. And, it only makes me wonder, like, well, if they stuck with the same art style, would it have saved enough budget
Because it
that
could
the
have
show...
reused assets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and Rebels, I always thought had a bit of a funky look to it. Even though
It looked painted, right? Like hand painted was the idea. It's like pastels.
Everything's more elongated and I don't know. It just never really agreed with my system too much. It's almost like that kind of style.
It's probably because you had 5 seasons of Clone Wars under your belt.
That too, yeah. But that style is almost better on paper as a painting. I just almost having it come to life to me is just like, it's just a bit odd. Whereas Clone Wars was in line with a lot of already existing animations with the similar art style, but it also looked more realistic. Like if you look at the clones in Clone Wars, there is still the Clone Wars style upon them, but they are so close to the ones in the film that you almost can't tell. Right. So there's a lot of that. Like it's closer to the movies than Rebels is, as far as realism. Yeah,
Rebels more stylized. So Janina Gavankar plays Ahsoka's mother, as we mentioned, in the Ahsoka origin arc. And originally that story was how Plo Koon finds her and it inducts her into the Jedi Order. So we talked about this a little bit already.
Right.
It's something that I guess has been... Was it in Clone Wars they actually said Plo Koon found her? Or is that just something Dave mentioned?
That's something that's been established by Ahsoka herself in Clone Wars, yeah.
Okay. And then we will be getting 6 total episodes this fall. So 2022, this year.
Yeah, so you can look forward to that later this year.
So moving on to the final panel, which was the one that was actually interrupted so Ewan McGregor could finish off his autographs, which is pretty funny. Doug Chiang was presenting Star Wars designs and designing it for The Mandalorian. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this was awesome. A really good panel. I enjoyed this a lot. Yeah. Doug Chiang is just such an incredibly talented artist.
Yeah, the importance of concept art and design plays such a crucial role in the foundation of Star Wars, because without that alone, George would not have been able to get buy-off on the first Star Wars movie. So, because that's how he pitched the film, because it was so abstract. He couldn't just describe what was happening. So
you definitely need the artwork.
Yeah, so he needed Ralph McQuarrie to come up with almost like a storyboard of frames of concepts that would pitch the idea of what the film could look like. And to this day, that influence artistically has held such a crucial role on Star Wars for everything, for the way that the universe looks and feels. It's just absolutely everything.
So Doug Chiang said he's done over 4,000 designs were made for season 1 of Mando alone. That's crazy. So he didn't necessarily do all of them, but he was saying that there was 4,000 designs for the Mandalorian, which is crazy.
So many.
Yeah, I think that's over all 3 seasons, or all 2 seasons, maybe 3, but 2 for sure.
Yeah, it just goes to show how much time and effort goes into creating the world, like the world building, the ships, the character designs, the costumes. Everything has to get designed down to the blaster.
Yeah, that's true. And then generally, it's not one and done either, right? You can do multiple iterations.
Yeah.
And he spoke to that quite a bit, where they broke down the designs for both the Razor Crest as well as Mandalorian's armor.
Yeah. There's great footage in the Revenge of the Sith behind the scenes of George talking to Doug, or not Doug Chiang, sorry. He wasn't on that one, I don't think. He was talking to the concept team, putting a stamp on different things that he liked and giving his notes and stuff. And it was such a cool, it always stuck in my memory as, oh, that's how stuff gets designed, to be in the film. So, yeah.
And Doug emphasized that the designs for characters can change entire personalities. And I think a good example of that is looking at Grogu, right? So he talked about the design of Grogu as well. At one point, he looked more like a troll, and they were having an issue trying to get him to look ugly cute, because that's what Jon Favreau wanted, was an ugly cute baby. And the issue they were really dealing with is because they started with Yoda, and Yoda has human eyes, and I guess if you he showed an artwork of this. If you see Grogu with human eyes, he just looks psychotic.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and there's another one there. VR tools were used to design the sets for the show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So I think that was mostly using game engine assets and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat that they managed to utilize that technology to really virtually dive into the scene before they were able to build it and all that, just to really
get a rough draft where that's 3-dimensional.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like the modern day of doing a clay sculpt, I guess.
Yeah.
And so the Robot Chicken team shot a stop-motion tiny rigged creature for the Blurg in season 1, and 2 of the shots ended up in the season. So that's cool, because we had mentioned that sometimes it actually felt like stop-motion. So maybe that's why, because the Robot Chicken guys actually stop-motioned it.
There's only 2 shots though, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe when we commented on it, maybe it was those 2.
Could have been, or I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But it's possible that the CG stuff was all referencing the stop motion, trying to get that low motion blur kind of stutter look.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mos Espa's downtown area was a sinkhole design in the Book of Boba Fett, and it turns out that this was George approved design for the Phantom Menace. So we just never got to see it.
Yeah,
and they also worked it into the overall layout of the city very well, based on a bird's eye view design of the cities from a top down view.
Right. I thought that was so cool that was a thing, that was actually a George approved design, because we speculated on that design for the city. I was like, oh, I guess it works because we never saw that section before, but I didn't realize it went back as far as Phantom Menace. Exactly,
yeah, because we had thought that this was something that they just did to change it up from Mos Eisley, that they specifically in the Book of Boba Fett, just change it up. So it's cool, to know that it was all the way back to George Lucas. They just never end up using it. Yeah, and that really, again, just points to George Lucas not limiting his designs to just what you see, but he likes to flesh out everything, which is also a very Tolkien-esque thing to do.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So Anakin's pod racer engine is confirmed as Mando's speeder in the Crate Dragon episode.
I thought that was awesome, because we always I guess we kind of knew, but now it's nice to have the confirmation that's that is the speeder.
Yeah, well, originally they didn't want to use that, is what Doug was saying. They just wanted to use any pod racer engine. So they used Sebulba's engine originally. The thing was just so massive.
Yeah, it's so big. Yeah. Yeah.
So they realized that Anakin's really is the only one they can use.
Well, it's the smallest.
Right size.
Yeah, it was the smallest pod racer in the whole lineup, right? So, yeah,
such a cool idea. I'm not sure if he said who originally came up with that idea, whether it was him or Jon Favreau who requested it, but
Jon Favreau, I know for sure Jon Favreau asked for the N1 starfighter. Because that's the next thing. He wanted that to be the Razor Crest replacement. But yeah, both having those ships return from that first film, huge Phantom Menace vibes, throughout
nods and stuff. Yeah. And how I really love that they're so open minded to that. I felt like over the last, what has it been, 10 years, I guess, of all the Disney stuff, I feel like they've been really trying to distance themselves from the prequels. So I'm really glad to see everything start to come around full circle.
Totally.
Because even to the fans who aren't the biggest fans of the prequel trilogy, it still is part of the universe. And I feel like everything still needs to be tied together.
Yeah. And even more importantly, it's part of the universe that George built, which is the foundation that all the new stuff is being done on.
So it's just so cool to see it all come together. And the N1 Starfighter, to finally see it have its second life in Mando. Super cool. And Doug Chang actually spoke to the original design of the N1 Starfighter, because when the original idea was pitched by George and he was designing it, to him it didn't feel like it was part of Star Wars because it was just so different from everything we've seen in the original trilogy.
And
because he said he wanted it to be like what's that car? It's not NASCAR. It's the other one.
Like F1.
An F1 racing car version of a starfighter.
Yeah, curious design choice for sure for Star Wars, where everything's usually ratty and rebuilt from scraps.
Boxy.
But, it was an interesting design choice. And, looking at the N1, though, it's one of my favorite ships ever and fits the design language of the Naboobians so well.
Yeah, and he spoke to that, too, because originally it was supposed to land in water.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't have landing gear. It was supposed to float in water.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny, isn't it?
And then I guess they ditched that, so they had to all hover.
It makes sense because it's all like curved and everything. It almost looks like it could float in water.
It's true. No, it's a very good point. I guess it was part of the design was like a boat, and he didn't mention it, but I'm sure there's a stingray as part of the design as well. Manta ray.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then Gina Gavankar gets emotional celebration stage talking about playing Ahsoka Tano's mother.
Yeah, at the very end of the day when she closed celebration day 3 with the host, I just thought it was worth noting that when she was talking about her newly casted role coming back to Star Wars, she got quite emotional about playing the mother of Ahsoka Tano because she understands the importance of that character and was just so honored to be able to play the mother of that character. So definitely worth noting. And it was quite something special to see her tear up as she was talking about it.
Yeah, maybe that might be part of the reason why they casted her. Maybe she just is the right fit for the job.
Yeah. Janina's great. So yeah, looking forward to that episode a lot of Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's our wrap up of day 3.
Day 3 celebration. Well, thanks.
That's right.
Thanks for taking us through all that stuff there, Blake. And I guess we'll catch you in the next one for our final day of Star Wars celebration.
Sure thing. We got one more, so let's relish every moment.
Every moment. All right. We'll see you in the next one.
All right, man. Keep flying.
All right. And for those of you who were able to make it this far, thank you for tuning in to Star Wars Escape Pod and our recaps of Star Wars Celebration. Hopefully I can keep my voice to get us through the final day of Day 4 Star Wars Celebration. Otherwise, we will see you in the next one. May the Force be with you.